Welcome back to the channel again. Today is the first day of July. Japan is officially on fire this past week. I think over Japan at least 33, 34 degrees Celsius. And one of the reasons I'm taking a video on the first floor of the Machiya house is just because the second floor feels like a sauna now. It's just way too hot. There's AC up there, but still compared to the first floor, it's so much hotter. Another thing, good news that Gyo Matsuri is coming back this year. I think everything is going to be performed, conducted, the floats, the parade, even the stands, food stands, I think everything. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to finish the house enough to be able to do a proper house tour. So I would like to start with the second half. The second half of the renovation journey that started from December 2020 when I first bought this Machiya. And in the first half where I talked about the beginning planning, the renovation cost up until the point to the dismantle of the Machiya where the roof was taken off. And that was the summer of 2021. So now we are at September of 2021, and officially the house is kind of like an empty box in a way. It's in a skeleton frame state. And then in the beginning for full-scale renovation, this is when the contractor, they will try to lift up the Machiya and try to fix the slanting, the tilting of the house if there's any. In most cases, a Machiya that hasn't been fixed for close to 100 years, there will be a certain degree of tilting. So for full-scale renovation, this step is very important, very critical. And I kind of regret not being able to visit the house so often during that time. One thing is just because there isn't too much to see. There's not too much to film, to show. And then also they are advising people not to be inside during the process of lifting up the house, just because I think it's more dangerous than painting the wall and then installing a kitchen and all that. So I would really have loved to visit at least once or twice a week during that time, but I think in September or October I was also occupied with other stuff, and then I only ended up coming maybe once or maybe once every week or every 2 weeks. And then I mean, from like a non-professional perspective, you don't really see much change even after they lifted up the house. And then entering, I think, the end of October, November, that's when finally the carpenters are on site for work. And this is a good time to start building up relationship with these carpenters, because they will be really able to provide a lot of insight to fixing the house and even advices on what they think could be done or should be done. So for me, that's what I intentionally intended to do in the beginning. It's always a good idea to bring some drinks, coffee or tea every few days to talk to the people on site. And in the beginning, I think the first time, 2 times, it was just chatting with people, whoever that's working on site. Sometime in November, there was a day when I visited the site with, again, some drinks, the coffee, and then somehow there was nobody that day for no reason. So I just left the coffee thinking that they will be back tomorrow to work on site. also I was asking the contractor, the person in charge. So I went to the site. Nobody was here. What's happening? And they told me that they had another project somewhere, so they have to allocate the carpenters to the different site. They didn't mention for how long, but that's what they told me. Again, I assume that this is temporarily and maybe a day or two. And now knowing that how naive I was thinking that they would come back in a day or two, I visited the site, the house, a week later, and then my coffee, they are sitting there untouched in the exact same position, same number. Nobody visited the house for a whole week. So I asked the contractor again. Apparently they have to leave the house empty for over 10 days, and they didn't even bother telling me and getting my approval or something, which is again ridiculous. Very frustrated, again stressful during that time, having the renovation project emptied just for over a week, over 10 days without any notice. So I was kind of really pissed off. And from that time, we negotiated that, please share any updates, schedule. And then we made a line group just so that, the contractor and the architect, both of them, they could share any updates immediately, so I can be informed. So that was what happened in November. They still did their work after they came back to the site, but still, I just lost that 10 days of working without any compensation or any notice. And then, obviously that affected the following schedule of when we can move. And then I was asking them to, I was always constantly asking them to provide like a updated schedule whenever some changes are being made, but then the contractor never really bothered giving me like a new version, because I guess they probably think the new version won't be accurate anyway. Again, frustrated for me, but life goes on. So that was for November. By the way, I'm really glad that we had a top light window in our living room. This is no light. None of the light is on, well, except the small light in the kitchen. But it's really bright in the daytime, especially during summer. But even on a cloudy, gloomy day, it wasn't dark at all in this house, except for the doma area in the entrance. But everything else is really bright. So that's one thing that I'm really happy about. And then we are now in December, and this is when finally the roof, the tiles, they are up. How relieved I was knowing that this house is finally covered in something durable and strong, that I don't have to constantly worry about this house just falling apart in case of any natural disasters. But it was December, so the typhoon, it was already gone. So but again, very relieved. But also at the same time, if you're somebody who is using the subsidy for the renovation, for example, I was using the subsidy for the roof, really make sure that you have to take the photos of different angles before the renovation, in the middle of the renovation, and after. The before and after part is quite easy because you have plenty of time to do that. But the middle, the process, you really have to make sure that the people on site are willing to take those photos for you. But it's very important because the people from the city, for me it's Kyoto City, they would be really picky if they don't find the photos to prove that this is the process when the roof, the boards, the tiles and the layers, even in the layers in between that are used for the renovation. If they don't have those photos to see, sometimes they would be strict that they are not going to give you the grants that you applied for the renovation. So really keep in mind, for roof, it's not something that it's easy to take photos of yourself. So that's why I had to ask the people on site. But for other areas, it's possible that you just come to try to capture everything with your own camera, with your own phone. And finally, entering 2022, the January of this year, after the roof, everything is done, they started building the inner layer of this house, the new pillars, the boards, the new frame of this house. And then this is also the time that I started picking furu tategu, the old fitting that you see in the background over there. Those are all old furnitures, old fitting sliding doors that we got from like a antique shop. And then it's also a time to choose the lighting fixtures. For the light, you can also choose from antique shops, but we just ended up, buying something online that look nice enough in the Machiya. The part that will, I think, take a lot of time will be the old fitting, the old Tategu. One thing about choosing these Tategu is that they're usually 173 centimeters. And then also the Tategu, because they're all fitting, the condition of these are all different. Some of them you can painting over, some it's just better to keep the color as is. And also the type with the glass, the style of glass, depending on different era, some of the things, the style, the design will be harder to find. So it's really, if you're already used to finding antiques, I guess it won't be such a hard task for you. But really for me, especially because everything is very analog, for the local stores especially, that you really just have to visit their place, and then when everything is piled up together, you can't really see everything at once. It's just so cramped that you really imagine how the business is still running with this inefficiency. But still, the architect, he was able to help me find something that I requested, the design, the size. So at least half of the fitting that we needed, it was decided quite smoothly. The other half, we have to really look through different sources. For example, even online stores. There are a few online stores in Japan that send these old Tategu to different regions of Japan, and they are more expensive, of course, because they have to invest more to run the online shop, and as well as they have to take really nice photos to sell these Tategu. So usually, for example, if you get these at the local store, one piece for maybe $100-$200, then for the ones online, likely you have to pay double the price, $300-$400. But in the end, if you want to find something that you really like, you should try to explore different sources to allocate all these furu tategu fitting. Even Yahoo Auction Japan is one of the source that you could do. I did find something interesting on Yahoo Auction, but I didn't end up using anything from there. But that's also a place where you could take a look. So February of 2022, two things. First of all, my second daughter turned 1, Lina-chan. So it's also a month that I hope that we could have moved in at the end of February, because that was what was planned, that we could move in at the end of February and start like a new semester fiscal year in April, that she could go to a different school in this area. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but still, that it's such a long process. Such a tiny baby turned, could walk already after this 1 year, and then the house is not even done. But very excited because in February this house is already looking like a home. I mean the color, the flooring, those things you can't really see yet, but you already have, for me at least, I already had like a general idea of how the house was going to look like. So very exciting. Also note that from I guess the last 1 or 2 months before the scheduled finishing date, be really prepared that I think there are going to be many last minute confirmation from the contractor or the architect. I think a lot of things, obviously the color of the kitchen, the color of the beams, the height of things, some of things you can really just decide in advance. For us, we try to do as much as possible, but a lot of things, it just comes up suddenly. I don't know if it's just the way this particular architect works, but there were just so many last minute confirmation checking how I would like, the height of this, the color of this, that there was no buffer time. Like there was only a day or two that they wanted our answer, and I have to talk to my wife to decide all these, because whatever that I decide myself, it's very risky. And then just so you know that whenever we have arguments, me and my wife, during the process of renovation, she would always leave the group online or messenger when we, where the architect and the contractor were all discussing things. She will always leave the group, and I will always have to ask her to come back because we have to finish, the conversation to get things moving. So that was a pain, but I'm sure that's something that everyone has to go through. So mutual agreement within your family. But again, so little time in advance to decide the details of things. There, for example, how high would you like the toilet paper roll to be on the wall of the toilet room? I mean, this is something that I would assume anything standard would be fine, but still, like, they would want to confirm things like that. So not even renovation, I guess, for like a newly built house, you have to decide all these in detail. So for us, February and also March was just so busy talking about these things that needed our confirmation last minute. And finally, the last month before the renovation is completed, the entire March, I think this is, the last months of the renovation. I think this is going to be the time when every day you can see the difference, the changes of the house, the progress of the renovation. So really make time to come visit the site and to see how everything is going. For example, the stairway, the tatami room, when they put the fitting, I think everything that's visible was really just done within this one last month. I'm sure everything in before the last month is equally important, but the visible part really comes in the last month. And because it's visible, this is going to be the time when you can really realize that, this part, the color, the atmosphere, is it really what you have in mind, or is really different from what you have imagined. Maybe the first 2-3 weeks in April were really for like final checkups after the completion of the renovation. I think they said that the house was completed and ready for like a inspection in the beginning of April. So we did come by ourselves And then there were really a lot of places where we wanted to be repaired. There are places that they forgot to do. A very ridiculous one regarding the storage outside close by the garden. Originally it was going to be a place where they can put the boiler and air conditioner as well. I didn't know too much about setting up like an AC outside, but apparently it's too small for AC that could heat up this room anyway. And then we couldn't put the AC in that storage, so we have to put it outside where we didn't expect. And then I have no idea why they just decided, okay, this is after the AC is not there, let's make it a dead space. You know, I'm not even able to open that storage space without loosening the nails on each corner. That was just ridiculous, and I was frustrated about why they do that. I mean, common sense, you have space there, why would you make it, you know, that it's that you can open it? But again, they did fix it for me, so it's fine. But inspection, this is when you could ask a third party, like a professional inspector, to check the houses. The fee would be maybe a few $100 to maybe $1,000. It's not expensive, but again, it will take some time to make the arrangements. If you're in a hurry, maybe asking an inspector would be kind of difficult, but if you have time, go ahead and ask like a third-party inspector, so you can feel safe about everything that's been done throughout the renovation. For us, we feel good enough that to just have everything checked by us. So that was the inspection at the end of April, and after everything, since the beginning of not beginning, but the end of December 2020, close to 1.5 years, that finally the renovation was done. I was so relieved that our family moved in at the end of April. It was really a moment to be cherished, even now, of course, many years from now. And then I'm grateful for everything the architect and then contractor was able to help us do throughout the renovation. It was not the most pleasant process, but again, you know, nothing really will go according to what you imagine anyway. So be prepared for surprises throughout the renovation. And even until this point, the garden is not even done because we just decided to leave it until the last, and then we're still in the process of trying to get the fence around the garden so we could at least have like a small outdoor pool area for the kids to play during the summer. So that is it for the second half of the renovation project story of this Machiya in Kyoto. I'm grateful for everyone who has been following the journey. It's not really done yet because I haven't done like a thorough house tour of this place, which I'll be doing hopefully after the fences of the garden is done, so you know, I can show you everything all at once. Thanks for watching. I hope the border will be open soon, so people, you know, will be able to come to Japan again for even looking at houses or even just going to different places to explore these traditional houses around Japan. That's it. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.